Talk, it's time to rock, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Sunday show. We're here with a special guest. If you guys aren't familiar with the guy that's down on the bottom there, his name is Hoss. He'll tell you a little bit more about himself soon. If you guys aren't aware of who he is, I'm sure everyone is though. But we've got to make a big deal about the Hoss being in the hot seat, looking after it, because Brad is away skiving, celebrating his birthday.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's sad that he can't be here with us, guys. I'm sure he's crying. I'm sure he is.
He jumped on the show yesterday. I don't know what the problem is.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Brad, wherever you are, whatever you're doing.
Yep. Look, we're wearing the t-shirt. We're wearing the t-shirt in honor of
okay,
colleague.
You know what? At some point, I'm going to just duck upstairs, and I'm going to have to put mine on, aren't I? So wearing the Brad t-shirt. Love it.
No problem. No problem. We'll let you do that, brother. I think you should. Hey, guys, thank you for joining us, everyone in the chat. We're going to do a shout-out to you soon. We're streaming, obviously, on our YouTube page. We're about 150 followers. We're not far from the 1,000 mark. If you guys can help us get there by sharing our channel with your social media accounts, we'll be grateful. We're streaming also on 2 Facebook groups, All Things Blues, the home of the British Electric Blues Show, and also on our 5150 Facebook page group too. So if you're over there watching us, say hi to Hoss and the Rock Professor, and we'll put your comment up. But Hoss, I'm looking forward to you sharing a little bit of information on this album. I know the Rock Professor's got a bit of information too, but before we continue with the proper program, we've got to do one special shout out to Warren, who's never far from this channel as far as our thoughts. He's going through some treatment. We do wish him well. He's a long-term supporter of the channel, and we hope to have him back in the hot seat, Hoss.
Yeah, absolutely. All our thoughts are with you, brother. Hope you're doing okay. And obviously wanting to see you back as soon as possible, you know?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, Warren. Get on soon, mate. I hope you're good.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Guys, so this album's going to be an interesting album. I've really enjoyed listening to this album. I've got some great comments to share with you guys. But the Rock Professor's got the album there that we're talking about. I'm going to put him on solo. There he is there.
Yes, folks. Yes, the real thing, only on black vinyl.
Black vinyl, yeah. And
I got to sniff it.
Look at that. Could I say with a font so small, which hand is it? That one. Look, this font is almost unreadable unless you've got a spotlight on. It literally must be about 4 point. I mean, read it honestly. And look, I see. You can get it. Look, that's better. That's better. If I turn it around, I cannot read any of it because it's literally about 4 point. I don't know why they did it so small, but it's like tiny.
and you know that's small for back in the vinyl days. Like we expect it now when you've got to squeeze it onto a cassette or a CD. But for vinyl, it's tiny.
Yeah. Getting that information on there though was really, really important. But
great logo as well. Look at that.
Yeah.
That strap with Dire Straits written on it. Yeah, cool. A logo. They had a logo. Nice. Yeah.
So as usual, guys, if you want to share with your rankings with us in the chat, please do. We'll fire your rankings up. If you disagree with Hoss's rank on any of the songs or the Rock Professors, let me know. Never disagree with any of my ranks, okay? All right? Please don't.
Only mine and Simon's, exactly.
We'll get banned.
Only Hoss and the Rock Professors. But look, Rock Professor, if you want to give us a bit of a background on the band, and then Hoss has got some information, and then we'll just talk about how we found this album, and we'll get into the tracks, guys.
Beautiful. Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. So Dire Straits started off as a 4-piece with the brothers Knopfler, Mark and David, and they moved to London to sort of make their way in the music industry, and hooked up with John Isley and Pick Withers as the bassist and the drummer, and they formed Dire Straits in 1977, and they recorded their first album in 78, February 78, the white one, with Sultans of Swing on it. Classic album, £12,500. They are. Ding!
Wow.
And produced by Muff Winwood, brother of the great Steve Winwood, and A&R man at Island and stuff, various other places. Clearly, and they they went out on tour, and I saw them on tour in this club in Bristol called The Granary, which was about a kind of 400 heads, probably hold 400 people, something like that, somewhere around there, and
Right.
fantastic. I mean, I was reading out some of the names to the guys. Look at that, the Jay Giles band played there once. All these Generation X, and but Dire Straits. And I'll just read this out. What this guy Al Reed wrote it, because he made a note of all the bands that played there. He says, when a colleague rang me from London to see if I had any vacant dates at the club, we had a brief conversation about how we are getting on in our respective agencies. I admitted that I was pretty fed up with acting as an agent and manager for a few remaining acts, as I handled, as success with any of them seemed unlikely. Apart from my newfound interest in broadcasting and looking after the Granary, took up all my time. The colleague agreed that agency and management had lost its appeal for him too, but he was going to give it one more try with a new band that were getting airplay on Radio London of Charlie Gillett. That name won't really. He's a famous DJ in London for breaking new stuff. Did I want to book them? As this agent always supplied the Granary with good bands, I agreed, wanting to know who they were. They're called Dire Straits, the agent replied. They'd been supporting the Climax Blues Band, Andrew, on tour, as we were having a conversation about the Climax Blues Band. And their album, Sultans of Swing, had been released a few years ago. So they caught at the Granary in 29th of June 1978. They got £125 for playing the Granary. It's less than a group called Whirlwind. There we are. Who are they? Yes. Who are they? Nobody knows. But yeah, fantastic. So that's
awesome.
Local, but it's a fantastic. It's one of those things where somebody's managed to get hold of the records of a local club and put them all together and kind of and just say a little bit about them. Tuesday the 19th of May 1981, Robert Plant and the Honey Drippers.
Yeah, wow.
Sadly, it doesn't say how much he got, which is a bit of a shame. But the Nashville teams. Anyway, so that's one of my sort of things, because we used to go there a lot when I was, because a lot of bands, and it was like a heavy rock thing, but it also did a lot of punk stuff, a lot of punk gigs.
Right. Yeah.
So we had a local band called the Cortinas, who are based here, with my friend Nick Shepherd, who went on to be in the Clash. Right. The last incarnation. He lives in Perth, by the way.
Okay.
He lives down under. Yes, great guy, fantastic guy. I think he plays and does various kind of Rolling Stones type things and all sorts of stuff in Perth with his various groups. But yeah, great player. But I think I went to see the Clash with him actually.
Oh, okay.
So the Granary was a great place to go. We used to go there a lot, and it was like with Eddie. I can't remember seeing a group called Eddie and the Hot Rods. Does that mean anything to you at all?
Yep.
Name Eddie and the Hot Rods. They had a sort of hit with Gloria, a cover of Van Morris's Gloria. Yep. But they did a wild and crazy version. They put Satisfaction in the middle of it. But the singer, Barry Masters, the Granary had a kind of balcony that ran all the way around behind the stage. And he's sort of running around the outside of it and stuff. Yeah, it's great. Dr. Feelgood as well. They played there. All sorts of.
Oh yeah.
So, great place. So so I caught them early. This is my copy of Making Movies when it came out. So it's been like 40 years old. So yeah,
it looks brand new. It's shiny and glossy, and I've got to say, I'm always a big fan of very, very simple but bold album covers, and I just love how it's just mostly red with that little blue stripe. I just think that makes
it's cool, isn't it? Yeah,
it's really cool. It's really identifiable,
Yeah. That's really good album. Yeah, and yes, I was working when it came out. I was working in a record shop.
Right.
The mighty I worked in a record shop up in Bristol. Worked for a quite a well-known local musician called Tony Dodd. He was a fantastic guy. We had a fantastic 3 years working together down in the basement of this shop. We did a lot of second-hand records and stuff. So I got a lot of vinyl stuff that I got second-hand, I think. So it was it was a great period of my life. It was my favourite job ever, I think. Sadly, it wasn't going to last forever. I gave him a year's notice when I went to university. But so this came out in the middle of that, and we clearly sold a few copies of it and stuff. So so I've got it new. That's from new. That is from was that 40 years old? Pretty much 4 years old.
Yeah. John, thanks for that. Records. And John was just asking Simon, did you just sniff the book as well then?
I sniffed everything, John.
There you go.
Analog. It's the smell of analog. That's what it is.
I'm gonna say I've got a big bookshelf in my lounge room with about 300 books. And I know these days you can read them on Kindles and stuff like that, but I just love even the smell of them, you know? There's just nothing like getting your fingers on the pages. I'm analog all the way as well.
Yeah. I mean, I still, as you know, buy all my records on vinyl. If I buy a new record, I buy it on vinyl.
Me too.
Some interesting stuff. Yeah, I like it. I've got my stereo set up behind here. So either side of here, my record deck is the record deck I've had since I was 18.
You've still got that music now?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's an old Pioneer deck. It's fine. I'm not an audiophile. I don't have the ears for it. I just put things on and listen to them, and it's fine.
But also, Simon, they made stuff really well back then. So if you bought a good turntable back then, there's no reason why it wouldn't still be great now. But if you buy a reasonably priced turntable now, it'd be lucky to be still going in 10 years, you know?
Yeah. For 50, what is it, 40, 50 years later or whatever. He's about 50 years. Yeah, it's just a belt drive thing. It just works fine. And I got some old, there's a British company. They're still going actually called KEF, K-E-F.
Oh, yeah, I've got KEF speakers. I got the Q10s and a sub. Yeah, they're beautiful.
I got some KEF Concords from 1976 or something.
Wow. I didn't even know the company went back that far. Yeah, they're fantastic speakers. Yeah.
Hold on, I'll take a photograph of one of them just to make you laugh. The idiocy. I don't know if I can lean across. So do that. You scurvy wretch. Hold on. Of course, it's not going to be as simple as that, is it? Because phones aren't, are they? Right, come on. Right, there we go. Just to lean across. Come on. Look at that. It's the black thing in the middle. That black thing. There they are. Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, like 3 speakers. They're really good. They're really good speakers. I've loved them. But I bought them in about 1976 or something with my deck. With my phone on deck.
Well, I didn't buy my kits in 76, but I have had them for about 20 years. You know?
Yeah. I've had one of them repaired once. I can't remember why, but yeah, a long time ago, had them repaired. But no, never felt the need to replace them. So the sounds of Dire Straits making movies have been ringing out around my house, and for this week on those, which is great. Yeah, you sit back on the set. That's what you do when you used to do when you were when I was 19. You put a record on, sit back, have the sleeve, and kind of look at it. That is sniffing, John, by the way. Caught sniffing by any other definition of it.
It's sniffing with your ears, But
absolutely.
But this is, I agree, Simon. This is a fantastic sounding record, fidelity-wise. It's well recorded and well mixed, and well arranged. And this is one of those albums where, for me, you could pour yourself a glass of wine, dim the lights, and drop the needle on the vinyl, and with Knopfler's lyrics and everything else, just let it take you where it takes you.
Yes, absolutely, and just kind of at the right time, really, because that that kind of audiophile thing was just kind of coming in then. When I worked in the record shops, we had also people would come in, the audiophiles would come in and buy the latest Eric Gale record. Is it called Eric Gale? Not the blues guy. There's a jazz kind of guitar player. Lee Ritner was another guy. And they come in and buy these records, and they come out and go, "There's a pop on track 2 on side 2." Go, it's a vinyl record. What do you expect? Oh, I want it with a pop. Drive us nuts.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I could see that, the audiophile and the people who made this record and stuff is, clearly helped them to do that. And of course, they had one that they're making movies, wasn't it? One of the first CDs. I remember that being like the album you listen. Brothers in Arms was the album you listened to on CD, because it was like, listen to this.
I actually remember that too. My uncle got a CD player really early, and I'm pretty sure Brothers in Arms was one of the albums that he had on CD. I think that was, remember, that had been 84, something like that.
Yeah, something like, yeah. 84, something like that. 85. But and I remember that being the great 85 was but I remember it being that great thing that you put on CD. It's like, because it somehow showed off CD to its best. We want to see that, John. We want to see that photograph of a teenage you.
I would love to see that too, actually. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Sadly, there are no pictures of me lying out on my parapet outside my bedroom window listening to that. I told my mum that the other day. She went, "What?" Because it's like 4 stories up. It's quite high up. She said, "You used to lie out on the parapet?" "Yeah, Mum, I did." "Oh." She hadn't realised until like 2 weeks ago that's what I used to do. Giving your mother a heart attack and thing. So, sorry, I guess I have lots of kind of personal links. I was around when they started. Loved Sultans of Swing when it came out. Bought their first record. I think. Yeah. I worked in the record shop 79 to 82, so I wasn't there for Dire Straits, but I was there for the second album, and and this one as well when this one came out. Yeah. We had lots of it's getting lots of copies sold. We just put it on the shop as well. Play stuff in the shop. It was great. So, yes, just to complete a bit of history. By the time they were making this record, they were down to a 3-piece because Mark and David clearly had brotherly issues, sibling rivalries, and I think that it was clear that Mark was going to be the leader of the band. And David had his own, he wanted to write songs and do stuff, and but it was going to be Mark's band. I think that was what the problem was, and so he went off and had a not very successful solo career. I remember seeing him a bit afterwards, but not much. But so he's not. I don't think he's not on this record. I don't think he may be uncredited on it, but.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that he did initially record some parts, but Mark re-recorded them after they had their disagreement.
Slight sibling disagreement. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Which is fine. So so they're recording as a 3-piece with 2 other people sort of drafted in. I think one of whom at least I think is really important to this record. Really, really important. Sort of unsung hero of this record in many ways. Mm-hmm. But I won't say who it is because people accuse me of favoritism. Okay. So yes, Simon, do you want to say a little bit about the recording of it and stuff?
I think it's worth mentioning that. So it was recorded at the power plant in New York, and they Mark had enlisted the help of Jimmy Iovine. They're just trailblazer, pioneer, producer, and record company mogul that we all now know. And in fact, there's a great doco out on Netflix about him as well, and Dr. Dre, which is totally worth checking out. But so you had his ears coupled. I believe he co-produced it with Knopfler, so the 2 of them kind of did it. But for anyone that's not familiar with the prowess of Jimmy Iovine, it's he started with working with everyone from, he worked with John Lennon, Bruce Springsteen. In fact, it was his work with Bruce Springsteen that Knopfler apparently particularly liked, and was one of the reasons why he thought he'd be really good as a producer for this record. Patti Smith, apparently also Knopfler loved what he did on Patti Smith's song Because the Night. and that was a big reason why he wanted to work with him. But you know, I mean, U2, Stevie Nicks, The Pretenders, and he has all that kind of pedigree. But then, of course, in 1991, he signed Tupac Shakur as well, and then started Death Row Records, which ended up signing Eminem and 50 Cent. So, I mean, what a broad range of styles this guy has. So, obviously, an incredible musician with great ears, a pioneer. And I think that you can really hear the influence of a great producer on this record, because the dynamics and the light and shade on this whole record, and especially in some songs, which we'll get to when we rank in a minute, but the dynamics on this record is just gorgeous, which is why I think, Simon, you were saying, you know, it lends itself so well to vinyl, especially because it has all of that, you know.
One name we left out. Sorry, one name we left out. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. You are absolutely correct.
Damn the Torpedoes, which was their massive breakthrough record.
Yeah, Meatloaf. He produced "Bat Out of Hell," which, as we know, sold a squillion copies.
Engineered.
Engineered, didn't produce.
A pedant writes Todd Rundgren.
Oh, okay, right. Okay, cool.
Sorry.
No. That's good. These are the details that matter and that people know, and so that's good. But you know, so anyway, and I think that plays a big part. And just on a side note, which we probably won't get to in the rankings, because it's a track that was recorded for this record but not put on it in the end, which was "Twisting by the Pool."
Yeah,
and that wasn't released actually till about 2 or 3 years later, I think, in 1983, on an EP. But it's interesting. And when you listen to Making Movies, I can see maybe why they decided to leave it off, even though it's only a 7-song record. But, you know, I guess the whole vibe of Twisting by the Pool, probably they felt just didn't fit with the overarching.
Twisting by the Pool has no place on this album.
Yeah, and that's obviously what they felt too. So it was left off, which was probably a smart decision, you know. Well, I mean, that's it. Oh, there's actually a quote that I've got just real quick that I think people will like to hear, from Rolling Stone magazine when this album was first released in 1980. And I think it really is very well worded and sums up, for anyone that isn't familiar with this record that might go and have a listen to it after they've heard us talk. I thought this would be worth reading out. So it says, singer, songwriter, and ace guitarist Mark Knopfler is the impressive sum of several appealing parts. His voice is a smoky mixture of Bob Dylan's acidic whine, Tom Waits' tubercular snore, and J.J. Cale's breathy, marbles in the mouth whisper. He writes such songs as Sultans of Swing and Once Upon a Time in the West with the cinematic flair of Bruce Springsteen, the Hall of Mirrors imagery of classic Dylan, and the slashing thrusts of Neil Young's bayonet-like realism. Finally, Knopfler's guitar style is a shotgun wedding of jazzy chording and harmonic tangents descended from Django Reinhardt and Wes Montgomery, the no-nonsense electric blues of B.B. King, Jimi Hendrix, string-bending sensuality, and James Burton's country pop sheen. I mean, I just think that's all those. When I read that, I can hear all those influences that, you know, sometimes you can't put it into words yourself, but I think that's great. And then the last little bit is just says Jimmy Iovine, who co-produced Making Movies, succeeds where the other producers perhaps have failed. He builds the album from the songs up. True, the addition of actually, I'm not going to say this next week because I think, Simon, you're saving that as your surprise. But
no, it's fine. You can say it's fine.
Okay. The addition of E Street Band pianist Roy Bittan brings out colors that were only implied in David Knopfler's workmanlike strumming on the previous albums. But it's Iovine who puts all the pieces together here. Gritty guitar runs, muscular drumming and bass playing, sympathetic keyboards, and sensitive and assertive singing. Then, after the groundwork has been laid and the shots set up, Knopfler steps forward to star in and direct each highly emotional but never cheaply melodramatic scene. So there you go. I think that's like a really interesting way that someone else has summed up the album when it was released in 1980. You know.
Yeah, let's not forget that Roy Bittan played on "Bat Out of Hell" as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's the piano player on "Bat Out of Hell." And that's the Jimmy Iovine connection, because Jimmy
Correct.
Iovine was engineering. So yeah, he played on quite a lot of stuff, Roy Bittan, not of Bruce Springsteen, but in kind of interesting, in the same sort of genre type thing. Yeah, I think there's a lot of Bruce Springsteen in this record. That clearly, Mark Knopfler's not Bruce Springsteen, but there's a lot of similarities there, and I think bringing him in was a really masterstroke, really, of giving them that extra, because before they'd had 2 guitars, bass, and drums, so it had been a pretty straightforward rock trio, quartet. But Roy Bittan playing that, and immediately you get it because of those keyboard sounds. They bring a whole different dimension to many of these songs. And when we get into the individual ones, we can talk about that. But I think and they had subsequently, they always had a keyboard player. Dire Straits on subsequent records, they wanted a keyboard player. So that clearly made a big impression. And Mark Knopfler decided, well, I'll be the guitar player, and we'll have a keyboard player as well. I don't know, a second guitar player as well on it, but yeah.
I agree with you completely. I think the addition of piano and keys, it really rounds out. I think that's where they started to sound like the Dire Straits that we all sort of know and love from the 80s.
Yeah, that's right, and different from the kind of. I mean, the first 2 albums are. I know the second one's recorded with Jerry Wexler in Montserrat and stuff, but it's still in that quartet, 2 guitars, bass, drums, quite enclosed. Little group, and certainly the first one is as well. But this kind of opens it all out and things into a different world, different realm, which in a good way, really good way.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, cool. Should we do a quick shout out of the team in the chat, Andrew, before we get into doing the chat? So we'd like to say good morning too. I'll go scroll up the top. So I've got John ZD351. And Ellen Forenstein and Teresa. Good morning, Teresa. Sunny Brazil. Charmaine Taylor. Good morning, Charmaine. Tim Thomas. Morning, Tim. Gret Zeppelin. Morning. love that name, Gret Zeppelin. It's really good.
Me too.
We've got Robert Ranford as well. Robert, good morning. You were in yesterday, I think. Cool. Good to see you again. Stagey. I don't know. Is that somebody who knows you?
Stav.
Oh, Stav, is it? Sorry. Yeah, it's Stav. It is Stav, yes. Small screens and bad eyes.
Yeah.
Butchering people's names. Who else we've got? Quentin James. Quentin James. How you doing? I've got Helen Winter. Good morning, Helen. And so we've got Helena O'Hara. Helena O'Hara's in as well. Morning, Helene. Hopefully that Arvin, of course. Morning, Arvin. How you doing?
Yep.
Hope you're good. Yeah. Crappy Luxury. Morning, Crappy. And Wayno. Thank you, Wayno, for stopping by and giving a thumbs up. It's 2 a.m. in Boston.
Been a long time since we've seen Wayno. Thank you, Wayno, for jumping in.
Well, 2 a.m. in Boston. Don't blame you for going to bed.
Right.
Yeah. And we've got Derek Clacton as well. Morning, Derek. He's having a listen, so that's really cool. Excellent. So good morning to everyone. Fantastic to see you, and I hope you're all safe and well. Yes, now on with the show.
Indeed.
So is it me first? Me first.
Yes, you've got first honours, I believe.
So having talked a lot about the inclusion of Roy Bittan, the first track, Tunnel of Love, is tour de force. I'm going tour de force. And it starts off with Roy Bittan playing an extract from Carousel by Rodgers and Hammerstein, piano and organ, immediately setting a different tone to the previous 2 records, which have just been guitars, basically. And I think, that, whoever thought that as an idea, sorry, early in the morning, lungs not working properly. Whoever thought that as an idea, and I don't know who did, is a fantastic a way to introduce a whole new, the new Dire Straits, different sound, different thing. Yep. And I was doing that. So it begins with Carousel, Roy Bittan playing. He plays organ and piano, and then off you go into the song, and which is I think, as I say, it has that kind of storytelling thing. It's about Ton of Love is about his early life in the Northeast in Newcastle. And it references various places like Spanish City, which was a fairground ride in Whitley Bay, or Spanish City was a fairground in Whitley Bay that they used to go to.
Right.
And I think he said once that the place, the first time he ever heard loud rock and roll was at the fun fair.
Okay.
And if you think about it, I think that's probably true for a lot of people. That because they had big PA systems that blasted out music because you had to get over the noise, the clanking of the mechanical machinery that drove the Dodgems or whatever it is. So and at home, of course, you had small radiograms and probably not stereos in the 50s and early 60s, just radiograms, that weren't very loud. So the first time you'd have heard loud 50s and early 60s rock and roll would have been at the fair, which is which is really interesting. So I think there's a link back to that as well. So as I say, you've got all the classic bits that we think of with Dire Straits. You've got Mark Knopfler sings and plays his guitar kind of the same. He's got that kind of, does his own call and response, doesn't he? He does this lovely kind of little melodic stuff underneath and around his singing, so they almost get two parts of the same thing. The two things are a complete thing in themselves. But he does it himself while he's actually, and clearly he can do it live, and so. I don't know whether he recorded it live, probably not, but he's able to do that, and I think it gives it a really unifying feel. Those things, and clearly very kind of. We took a line here about dynamics, and they break it down and they bring it back up,
Yeah.
When and he just breaks down, girl, it looks so pretty to me, like it always did, paints a fantastic picture, and I think that this is, sorry. This is what he has in common with Bruce Springsteen. That if you look at early Bruce Springsteen records, the first two, Greetings from Asbury Park and The Wild, The Innocent, and The E Street Shuffle, very kind of, that images of carousels, of fairgrounds, of the boardwalk and all of that is similar to that, and I think that that's where those similarities come in. I love the kind of piano arpeggios and stuff. It's not all about Knopfler. There's lots of love piano stuff at the end. Roy Bitlife plays magnificently on this. I'm only a bit of a Bruce Springsteen fan. Okay, just so it's anything with Roy Bitton on is all right with me. So I think he's a great piano player in it, and he understands about doing the right colours and things. I love this song. It's a 100 out of 10 for me. It's a fantastic opener. Really sets the scene, paints a fantastic picture in words of that early life in Whitley Bay. So 100 out of 10. I'm doing it a Brad score, starting off with a Brad score. Bold.
Awesome, brother. Well, look, I mean, I agree with pretty much every single thing that you've said there. I think that steam organ intro from Fairground is such a great misdirect, and I think that what you just said was perfect, Simon. About it would have been the last thing anyone would have expected to hear buying a Dire Straits record and hearing it start with like a carousel organ Fairground thing in a waltz, But then, of course, the band come crashing in with those accents, and then it's just go, and I just think that almost setting people up for a disappointment and then coming in even harder than they would have expected in the first place is such a great tactic with the start of any record, So awesome for that. As you were saying, the dynamics in the song, I'm pretty sure they actually bring it down to super whisper quiet twice, I think, in the song.
Yeah.
But man, that when it comes down, and it's like 6 full minutes into the song already, and it comes down and he begins that very delicately, that outro solo that takes it home. That's one of my favorite Mark Knopfler guitar solos, I gotta say. The way he builds that is so musical. And I have to say, that guitar tone, oh my Lord, that guitar tone, is, and always has been since I first heard that record when I was young, one of my favorite Strat guitar tones, be up there with Gilmour and anyone else, you know. And actually, you know, you see on forums a lot of the time these days on various different blogs and chat shows and stuff, people talk about getting the John Mayer guitar sound. But to me, what that is John's interpretation of that early Mark Knopfler sound, because when I listen to that, that's what I think people are really trying to get. It's that Mark Knopfler sound, especially from that outro solo in Tunnel of Love. It's just, I could listen to that over and over and over. It's so, and his sensibility and sensitivity of the way he starts that solo is just beautiful. And there are a lot of great guitarists that play wonderful blues licks and country licks and stuff, but there's very few that I would say can play with the nuances and the sensitivity of Knopfler and the way he builds that thing. And I mean, that's an epic it's like 8.5 minutes, right? It's an epic first track to start an album with. And I agree with you also. I think the lyrics and what I would think of as word painting, even if I'm reading those lyrics online and not listening to the song at the same time, they're so visual. It's like a novelist, you know, or a poet. You can almost smell the straw and everything from the fairground, you know, and you can imagine him having this kind of love affair with some girl that he's met and everything as a young man that would, all those feelings you would get. I think this is an absolutely killer song. I love it. Never a skip. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I think you guys are right. You're on the money there. It's just about a perfect side. When I was doing some research for this album, guys, there are a couple of things that stuck out that I want to share with you. I'm glad that you guys spoke about the tone of the guitar, but there was one thing that really knocked my socks off was the way that the bass and the drums are just coming through the mix on this song. It's just absolutely phenomenal. It's got something that the rock professor likes to talk about. It's got swing. You know, right from the word go, you know that this is a great rock and roll album. And then when I did some research, Hoss, I found out, you know, Jimmy Iovine was involved in this. And then I had another look, and Shelley Yakis is the engineer that was involved in this. And then I remembered, I clicked, guys, the Tom Petty documentary where they spent days trying to get the drummer, trying to get Stan
Lynch
drumming, you know, to try and get the sound, because Jimmy was saying this is the crux of rock and roll albums. You got to get that right. And so it's no surprise, guys, that these guys, through their geniusness when it comes to engineering and producing, got this right so well in this first track. And because of that, I'm going to give this a 10 out of 10. It's never a skip. One of the great Dire Straits songs. Cracker track opener.
Yeah, and John ZD in the chat there saying it's all about Knopfler's finger style, how he gets that tone. And it's very true, because most of that stuff, for anyone that doesn't know, he's actually not playing with a pick. He's playing it with the flesh of his right hand. And it's just such a juicy, beautiful tone, isn't it? It really is.
Yep.
And, you know, I think the most important thing is, I mean, you only need to play about 3 notes, don't you? Go, that's Mark Knopfler.
Exactly.
You know, it just is, you know, wherever he's, you know, it's like that style that he's picked up, you know, clearly from, as you say, Wes Montgomery and all those kind of, you know, 50s guys playing that very clean thing. And
Chet Atkins as well with an influence on
Hank
Knopfler.
Marvin,
Yeah,
for sure. Hank Marvin is in there as well. Shout out for the Brits. You know, but yeah, that yes, and you know, but you know, if you're a person who can play 3 notes and people go, oh, that's Mark Knopfler, you know, then you're doing it right, aren't you? Because you know, there's a lot of guitar players who are fantastic who you can't say that about.
It's
you know, I think
absolutely
it raises you up.
Absolutely true. And Andrew, you're 100% correct. I'm glad you brought it up. It's easy for the focus to be on Knopfler, but man, the rhythm section on this track are cooking, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. John Osley and Pick Withers are a fantastic pair. Great drumming. There's great drumming on this record, you know.
Awesome.
And the dynamics and the, you know, breaking it up, not just playing a straight 4/4 and things.
And how's all those awesome tom fills in the breakdowns, you know, he's going digga, 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 you know, and all that stuff.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
It's really cool. Yeah.
It's a real drummer.
Yeah. So what's the second track, the Rock Professor?
Right, the second track is Romeo and Juliet. This is clearly a star-crossed lovers song. I think, by the title, I think that, and also there's a references to West Side Story, which is based on a Shakespeare play, and My Boyfriend's Back, with references a group called the Angels hit My Boyfriend's Back. Hey la, my boyfriend's back. Interestingly, the hey la bit is a northeastern expression for lad.
Oh, is it? Right.
Yeah, hey la, my boyfriend's back. Hey lad, yeah. It's a uniquely northeastern Newcastle sort of piece of dialect. It's hidden away in this song. It's really cool.
I love that, because I've always wondered why the expression, you know, from the original song is "Hey la." I've always wondered why someone would say that. Now I know. So thank you for that.
It's a northeastern expression. There, I see. It's
awesome.
So
awesome.
The song was written by Knopfler, inspired by his failed romance with a woman called Holly Vincent from a group called Holly and the Italians. They had some minor hits in the UK, but I don't think they did much of them. And he stated and implied that he believes Vincent was using him to boost her career. The song's line, "Now you just say, oh, Romeo, yeah, I used to have a scene with him," refers to an interview which she gave where she says what happened was that I had a scene with Mark Knopfler, and it got to the point where he couldn't handle it and we split up.
Right.
Yeah, so there's a dynamic in the song which is you know, and clearly the Romeo and Juliet thing is a Shakespearean thing as well. It's but it's a conciliatory song. It's not a kind of, it's not, you know, it's not an angry, you know, it's, you know, I think it's tinged with a sense of sadness. It's got that lovely resonator guitar on it that he starts off with. I think it's tuned in open G, apparently. And I think that, you know, that what's brilliant about him, you know, he's got a fantastic sense of melody and tune, but, and I'll make a comparison here that I think is that what's brilliant about that voice bit, it's got just enough grit in it so that you don't, it's not a sentimental thing, you know, you get a real feel about it. And I think that a bit of extra grit in the voice really brings that to life and make them work as songs. You know, it would be easy to be quite sentimental or even maudlin, but they never go anywhere near that. And I think part of that is the way that he sings, you know, that grit in his voice, that kind of Dylan-esque kind of Tom Waitsy type thing, which I think is fantastic. Yeah, again, this has a drop down in it, you know, where they use that dynamic sense of dynamic, and a kind of really beautifully underplayed solo at the end. You know, he doesn't, you know, just these little notes and stuff, which, you know, really. And I think he's so like David Gilmour, isn't he? If you hear him speak, he's quite a sort of reserved Englishman. Yeah. You know, he's not like Mr. You know, but so all the emotion is in the playing. It's like, I mean, for me, David Gilmour is that very reserved Englishman, and but when he plays, that's where all the emotion is. That's where it all is. You know. And, you know, that's what makes him fantastic, is that he can't stop it coming out of his fingers, even he can stop it coming out of anywhere else.
Absolutely.
You know, I love this song. You know, it's you know, has some personal connections to me as well. You know, when I was that age, going through girls, you know, girlfriends and stuff like that. So it's a 10 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. Beautiful song. I love it very much.
Awesome. Yeah, look, you were talking about Mark Knopfler's voice, how it doesn't, it's meaningful, but it doesn't get sort of overly soppy or maudlin or whatever. And I agree with that. I actually think that there's a handful of songs that I think suit Mark Knopfler's voice so perfectly, even some more than some of the other songs he writes and sings. And this is one of them. I just think that I couldn't even hear another singer singing this song, you know. Absolutely gorgeous. I've always loved this song, but definitely one of my favorite Dire Straits songs out of all of them. I think, again, we're talking about how visual he is with his words. And then I saw, Andrew, you put a comment from John up just before. It says, I can see that street light every time I hear him sing it in the song. I totally agree with that. It's you can smell the mist in the air almost, and it's just that the cross between, as you're saying, that resonator guitar and the emotion and the feel. Lyrically, it's unbelievable. I think this song, this is definitely not only one of my favorite Knopfler songs lyrically, but actually one of my favorite songs of any artist lyrically, including Dylan and all those other great lyricists. I just think that he's done such a superb job of making you feel what he's feeling in this song, And it's funny.
He never overplays, does he, son? He never overplays.
You talk about that outro solo at the end. Again, such restraint, and he's got, you notice on some phrases, he puts an echo in the other speaker, and it's just so tasteful,
Do you use the volume control as well? I noticed that does he drop it down just to use the volume control?
I mean, he's so dynamic, and the way that he's also chosen not to do the outro solo over the full chord progression. He just goes to those 2 chords back and forward. It's just beautiful, The other things, while I'm talking about the lyrics, there's a lot of 80s. This happened a lot in like 80s hard rock and pop bands like Bon Jovi and different ones. There was this style of the self-deprecating, false modesty kind of thing where they would sing, if it was Bon Jovi, they'd sing, and I can't do a love song the way it's meant to be, like Bryan Adams, all of that.
Very good.
Thanks.
Yes.
This song has that in it. But to me, this is the only time I've ever heard someone do that. And, he says, and I can't do the talk like the talk on the TV. And I actually believe him. It doesn't feel like he's trying to play
probably
down.
true, isn't it? It's probably true, yeah.
Whereas anyone else like Bon Jovi and Bryan Adams and all the others that sing that same kind of sentiment, it feels sort of like a false brag almost in a way. It doesn't feel real, but in Romeo and Juliet, it feels very real to me. So that's why I also like it, because he, he just closed it out with the most beautiful sentiments. I think,
absolutely.
Look, for me, and just because it's Brad's birthday and I'm sitting in for him, this one I will definitely have to Brad score, guys. So in honor of Brad, I'm going to give this 100 out of 10. And I would say, for me, not only that, I'd say it's probably one of my top 20 songs of all time.
Oh, so fantastic.
Killer.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
Love this song.
Yeah, look, I agree with you guys. The storytelling in this song is phenomenal. When you're a young guy, 13, 14, hearing this album for the first time, it certainly pricks your attention to lyrics and why lyrics are important. If you're not listening to lyrics, it somehow forces it upon you. I'm glad that the rock professor mentioned girls, because if you've been brokenhearted, this is a great song to even cry more too, because it can do that. And I've done it a couple of times with this song. When you exploded into my heart, fantastic. Wow, what a great, and the rock professor just mentioned a couple of other little lines in there. Look, I love the song. Musically, it's fantastic. It's just a brilliant song. I'm going to mention one thing about Mark Knopfler's voice, because you guys mentioned it. The one thing that I love about Mark Knopfler, and listening to it again over the last couple of days, is, and this is no disrespect to Mark Knopfler, but his voice, his lyrics, the way he sings, guys, it's believable. It's not polished. It's not a polished vocal. So because of that, every guy, I think, who ever wants to sing a song or play in a band can believe that they can do it, because it's not polished. It's just Mark Knopfler, and he's just doing it so well. I hope I make some sense there. I love the song. I have to agree with you though, Hoss. It's I have to Brad score this too. It's a phenomenal song. All versions of it, the live versions, This version, though, it's a killer. It's 100 out of 10. Well done, Brad.
Yes, well done, Brad. Yeah, awesome, killer.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh well, that's and I think that you know, in these days of auto tune and all of those things, you know, that where people, you know, it's less easy to sing like that. It's less easy to be, you know, to have hits with something because they're all tuned and it's all kind of, you know, you have to sing in a particular way and things. I think that you know, for me, that's those people like Tom Waits and stuff who I love. You know, Tom Waits is fantastic. You know, I remember the first time hearing a Tom Waits record in the shop when I worked in the shop. Small change got rained on with his own 38. It's like, wow, what is that? Can you get away with that in music? Really?
Yeah.
But absolutely feeling as I had something. So I, you know, I think that it's that so much of it is character. You know, character of the songs, the delivery. You know, and that kind of almost half-spoken. John said to half-spoken delivery. You know, as you say, you know, you don't need to be the world's most fantastic singer to make great records. You know, great songs and deliver them properly.
Yeah, because because if you mean it 100% from the bottom of your heart, which you can hear that he does, then, you know, I mean, especially with this song, you can almost picture him under a streetlight, you know, underneath some girl's bedroom window, down on one knee with an acoustic guitar and saying it this way, singing it this way, which is like you say, like it's really just almost talking in tune, you know. But it's just perfect. So yeah,
good point, Helene. Third song, Rock Professor. What's the third song?
Yes, indeed. The third song is Skate Away. So Skate Away, again, is one of those kind of story songs that clearly he's getting into. Deals with a female roller skater breezing through the busy New York streets, listening to a portable radio on her headphones. And it's just kind of, you know, about what she sees. Again, it's that picture painting you were talking about earlier, Simon, you know, of what's going on. And it's, you know, it has, you know, you won't find, I mean, I've written down here, you know, the phrase urban toreador, you know, like a sort of one of those sort of bullfighter, you know, chasing the bulls kind of thing. Fantastic kind of lyrical picture painting that I think is fantastic. So, you know, much more of a full band song. This back to full band. Keyboards really to the fore in this. You know, as I say, you know, I think Roy Bittan is the unsung hero of this record. Clearly not a full-time member, you know, but he brings that color, that vibe to it that makes a real difference in these songs.
Yeah,
great. And that again, he's doing that, you know, that chorus with the soaring guitar lines. You know, he does the singing and the playing, you know, in that really cool way that he does. I think the piano is very Springsteen-esque. You know, there are albums, you know, Bruce Springsteen songs that have that very piano on it, kind of thing. That's what Roy Bittan brings to the sound. And in this one, we talked about it just now. He's got a spoken verse. You know, and he's actually got a spoken verse in it, which is really cool. Again, it gives it a sort of dynamic difference, doesn't it? You know, you're just doing something different. You know, because clearly, you know, he's not the great soaring vocalist. You know, he can't disappear into, you know, falsetto and stuff like that. It's you know, but so one of the ways you do it, what do? You just go into a spoken bit, you know, because you create a dynamic and create a difference there, which is really cool. But I think you know, guitar solo again at the end. It's kind of relaxed, cool, melodic. You know, I'm used to the volume control on it. You know, again, underplayed. You know, understated. Just, you know, he's clearly learned. You know, that works better in the context of a song than it does. Yes, yes, absolutely, John. It is for front runner for one of the most 80s videos of the 80s. Yeah. Well, with a Walkman or whatever, you know, headphones and stuff. You know, skating around is a very, very 80s image, isn't it? 9 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. You know, really good end to the first side. Again, you know, and I like the contrast, you know, between the acousticy type one in the middle is, you know, kind of you know, as a contrast to the other songs. Really good. So 9 out of 10 for me. Never a skip.
Okay. This one, yeah, for me, I'm going to score a bit less than the first two songs on this side. I like it. I agree with you. I think that, again, with the lyrics, very clever, and you can really picture, like, especially like, I mean, who knows? Obviously, the album was recorded in 1980, so it's entirely possible that he even wrote this song a year or so before, which means that really it's that classic late 70s disco roller girl kind of thing. And his lyrics in this, you can really, he sets that up very, very well. I just like chordally and harmonically, this song kind of doesn't punch as hard as certainly the last two songs we just talked about. I like it. It's never a skip, but for me, this one's a 7.
Wow. 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 Yeah, look, I know where Hoss is coming from with his scoring. So the fact that it's never a skip, and when he gives out high scores, they're well deserved. So look, I'm going to give the song a 9 out of 10. I love the intro, guys. The intro is really, really cool. I love that intro. It's just, it's got something going on that you don't quite know where it's going. I'm glad that John mentioned the video, because I had a note here too about it. Very 80s, absolutely hit the nail on the head. But that's one of the great things about why we do this show, because it's the albums are situated in a period, in history and time, and we've got to remember that this was a pop album when it came out. This song was a huge song, guys. As a single, it was, everybody was singing it. It wasn't just a rock and roll album; it was pop music. So it was catering to that market with the video. Very clever. Love it. Love the song. Never a skip. But I'm with the Rock Professor. I'm not going to go below a 9, Hoss.
Fair enough too. Fair enough. No, look, I understand all the things you guys are saying.
And before I hand it over to the Rock Professor to flip over to side 2, a near perfect side 1 for a third album. Boy, pretty good.
Yeah, look, I agree with that. I think we all would. And also, interestingly, all 3 singles from the album were these 3 songs on the first side.
Correct. Good point.
So I mean, that's an interesting decision too, because of course, normally you might get a single on the second side somewhere, but it was just all packed into this first side. So I agree. I mean, I think there's there wouldn't be too many albums with a first side like that, making you just almost salivating for flipping the record and seeing what's on side 2. The other thing that's interesting, we're talking about just quickly before we move on. Cliff Richard released Wired for Sound, which in a way, the film clip and all that was very similar. It had him on the roller skates and the whole thing.
Yeah. Yes.
And that was a year or two after this. And I couldn't help but think a little bit that maybe the idea of it kind of inspired Wired for Sound.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, of course.
You're
but
not suggesting, Simon, who's that the doyen of British pop, Sir Cliff himself, has taken an idea from somebody else.
Look, not really. And it could, of course, be subconscious, because we get all our influences who knows where, I'm actually a really, really big fan. This might surprise some people, given sort of what I do with rock and everything, but I'm a big fan of a lot of those early Cliff records. I've got a lot of them on vinyl, and I think they're so well written and well produced. And there's some killer records around that era, late 70s, early 80s for Cliff.
Oh yeah, Devil Woman's good. It's a great track. And is it Wired
A
for Sound
Little
that
in
has the
Love.
drop off? Yeah. Is it Wired for Sound that has that drop off, that faint kind of like?
That's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of songs I love from back then, like A Little in Love, Dreaming, Carrie, of course. There's some killers.
Yeah. Simon, wearing it all on your sleeve. Well done.
Well, you have to, don't you? You have to. But
like what you like. Yeah.
Well, side 2.
Express our love.
Well, I think, yes, after a massively strong first side, and I think that, that the side 1 is such a strong set of 3 songs, really, that, side 2 is going to have some difficulties, I think, for trying to keep up. Basically,
it's a big mountain to climb after side one, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And I can't remember. It's that thing about how you plan out what the order of the songs is. Order strongest first, then next strongest, then next strongest, and next strongest. I'm not sure. Somebody did their album, and I can't remember who it was. They actually programmed their albums with what they thought were the strongest ones down to the weakest ones, like in that order.
Right.
I'm not sure that entirely works, but yes. So Espresso Love is the opener of side 2. Has a slightly sort of heavier guitar sound. I don't know if he's got the Les Paul. I don't know if he had a Les Paul by then, but and it's got the counting underneath. 1, 2, 3, and then with the piano and stuff again, Roy Bittan, really making a difference, really giving it melodic kick and giving it some coloration as well. And again, apparently references the line, "Hey, Mister, you want to take a walk in the Wild West End?" Sometimes is a reference back to Wild West End from their first album, which is pretty cool. Cool. And I love the chorus. She was made in heaven. That kind of very melodic. Completely has a very melodic chorus, which is really good. Again, the guitar solo is a kind of intricate, melodic, kind of quite subtle harmonic solo. It's really nice. I think you've got 2 guitars in it at one point as well, playing harmony stuff. And again, a breakdown with just a guitar and a piano. I don't think it's as strong as anything on side 1, so I'll be going 8.5 out of 10. Look at that. He's got a face like a crumpled paper bag, hasn't he, Mr. Walton?
Look, I think, obviously, like we're saying, side 1 has so much to live up to. I think it's a great rollicking groove. It's got a good energy to it. I think it's a really good way out to start side 2. Certainly, out of all the songs on side 2, I think that's probably the right choice to begin it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. This is one of those songs that Knopfler's written that I think would have had more life breathed into it if someone else was actually singing it, like a Springsteen or someone like. I actually hear Springsteen singing this song more than I hear Knopfler singing it, even though he's written it. And of course, for anyone that doesn't know, I mean, Knopfler wrote songs quite often for other people that got released. Of course, he did Private Dancer for Tina Turner. And it's funny when you know that Knopfler wrote it and you listen to it, even though Tina Turner's singing it, you can completely hear Mark Knopfler even doing his version of it, But for me, with Espresso Love, I just feel like it could have extra, like I like it as a song, but it could have got a little extra there. Maybe with, I just don't think that this is a song that really, really is great for his voice. But look, I like it. I think it's a great way to start side 2, and I give it an 8.
Okay, that's interesting. I love the song. I think that distorted groove, that heavy groove, adds contrast to what we had on side 1. Certainly one of the best songs on side 2. I love the groove that it's got, guys. And look, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Never a skip. I don't agree with what you guys are saying about his voice, though. I'm going to go back and have a listen, because I think it's all situated in my mix and what I'm hearing as a good balance. I love the fact that the bass and the drums have turned up a notch, and obviously they've needed to do that, though, because of the distortion that we're getting, that extra groove. But I can feel that dynamic. I love it. I'm happy with my 9. I'm happy with my 9, guys. Never a skip.
Yeah,
right,
look,
Professor. Oh, sorry, Hoss.
I was just going to quickly say, I think we're all sort of on the same page. Like, I actually was going to give it an 8.5, which actually I might change it to, because it is a really good way to start side 2. You know, like both you guys saying, like, it's got a good groove and everything. And there's something else you just said, Andrew, that I wanted to agree with you with, but I can't I can't remember it now. But yes, John's saying there's no X in espresso. Yeah, of course. I think back in the late 70s, early 80s, people were still calling coffee espresso, but we all know better now. So, you know, I think I took off my 0.5 because he's put an X in the title, you know.
Awesome.
Anyway, yes.
Well, I'm going to go up half a notch. I'm going to go to a 9, Andrew.
There you go. See, there you
go. Is the right thing to do. And yeah, I'm having I don't do this very often. Having a second thought. Yes.
Okay, so we got 2 9s and an 8.5. So really, we're all kind of on the same page.
Yeah. But it's never a skip. Absolutely, it's not a skip. And
it's never a skip for me. Just for the record.
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, espresso love. That kind of for me harks back to those kind of 50s coffee bar things, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It was so prevalent, you know, when Mark Knopfler was, you know, starting out, he would have been down the local coffee bar, you know, hanging out. And so my guess is that there's some allusion to that in there. So the second song on side 2 is Hand in Hand. So it starts off with an acoustic and piano just playing together, which is a very nice contrast with the previous track. And then we've got electric guitars. Again, it's got a breakdown in it, like we have with the other songs. Very much that thing. And again, that kind of acoustic and piano duet. So they play together, got intermeshed beautifully together. I think, you know, Roy Bittan really understands how to mesh in with that. And
yep.
So I think it's got again, the one thing I say about Knopfler is, you know, there's always that kind of tremendous sort of ability with a tune, you know, that I think is really cool myself. I really like the tune bit of what he does, you know. I think, to me, again, another one of those kind of you know, really great sort of painting songs, you know. The sky is crying, the streets are full of tears. Rain, come down, wash away my fears. You know, yeah, it's lovely. I love that sort of thing. That's right up my street. It's like a romantic kind of thing. 9 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. I think it's a lovely track. I really like it. You know.
Yep, great. I think it's a lovely track too. It's this one. I never really, I don't know, just emotionally, I never like fully connected with it. Certainly not in the same way as Romeo and Juliet or something like that. But it is a lovely track, and yeah, the lyrics are really nice in it. Never a skip for me, but because I just never really got that emotional connection with it, it's a 7 for me for this one.
Oh.
I'm going to agree with Hoss here. This was a sometimes skip back in the day. I couldn't relate to this song back, you know, when I was, you know, listening to this when it was on everybody's record or CD or tape machine. I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10, only because I agree with the rock professor says, you know, the landscape, that the lyrics, he's a clever songwriter, and I think that's one of the things that we have to remember with Mark Knopfler. Besides being a great guitar player and a band leader, we've already said it, haven't we? Especially with Romeo and Juliet, he has that great ability to craft songs with lyrics. Yep. And this is a good example of that too. So, but it just misses something, rock professor. It misses. It's a bite short of that. You know, someone's had a bite out of the sandwich, out of the lunchbox for me to sort of, you know, be fully, you know, enthralled by it. So, yeah, I'm happy with my score. But yeah, I can see where you're coming from with the 7-2, Hoss.
Yeah, John in the chat, there's also saying, you know, it is a good song, but it's just surrounded by too many full-on classic hits, you know. And I feel like that for me, and as you guys already know, whenever I'm ranking a song, it's only because I'm ranking it compared to the things that just make my heart melt, like Romeo and Juliet and stuff. So really, I mean, 7 might seem harsh depending on how your parameters.
Well, Helene reckons it's harsh. Your score's harsh, but
yeah.
She's got Hoss is harsh.
Yeah.
Hoss is harsh. But you know, if 10 is the most that I could ever love a song, 7's actually still pretty good, really.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, anyway, that a good one.
I was I just got the lyrics up. I think there's some parts of it that are quite Springsteen-esque on this, particularly. I think, you know, that, so that's probably why I'm a sucker for it a bit. But, you know, and I think that thing, if I've been hard on you, I never chose to be. When he sings that, that's just, you know, I don't know, I love that bit, that, you know, that line, that chorus that he sings. I think he just, you know, that's really good for me. So hence it's a 9 from me. And I think there's some references to Newcastle in there as well.
Yeah. He is definitely one of the great romantic lyric writers. There is no question about that at all.
Correct.
You know, and as we've said, paints a tremendous picture of you know, places, situations, and all of that, which is fantastic. I think. Yeah. What do I know? Right. So track 3 is Solid Rock. So it starts off with a kind of country. Do you know, I've been whistling this. I can't stop myself whistling this bloody song. Hey, solid Rock. I'm just going round like an idiot. It's been annoying my family. They keep saying, "Will you stop whistling that?" I found myself when I was making that cake yesterday. I was bloody whistling it in the kitchen, and they're going, "Can you stop that, Dad? Thank you. What are you doing?"
It's definitely catchy and hooky, this one.
Oh, you know, again, it's got that hook in it that is fantastic, and yes, I can't stop singing. It's really annoying. But you know, I think this is a great song. I like the country riff at the beginning. I think the bass and the drums. You know, let's give another shout out to John Ilsley and Pick Withers. Fantastic rhythm section. I think, you know, they make a lot of this record. Them and Roy Bittan as well. You know, it's easy to overlook them because you've got such a great guitar player as Mark Knopfler, and I think that you know, it's easy, but they propel them. They give them color, dynamics. I mean, you talk about, you know, the drumming and all of that. You know, it's forever changing and moving, and, you know, doing different things and giving it a lot of color, which I think is fantastic. I like the fact that the voice and the guitar intertwine on this track as well. That's, you know, he does that so well, and clearly he's figuring out. So you're just playing those little melodic lines whilst singing as well, you know, just intertwined, which I think is lovely. And it's got solo at the end, very nice. Restrained again, another restrained melodic solo at the end. It's fantastic. 8.5 out of 10 from me, but a great song. I really like it.
There you go. Fantastic.
No one wants to see that. Great, but if you're good, I'll show you the cake. Simon, go on.
I agree. Shout out to the rhythm section again, because who doesn't love a good pumping country blues rock song? I mean, it's just one of the things that Dire Straits could do so well, and the rhythm section is really the reason that it gets your leg shaking and your foot stomping on the ground. You know, I like it for that. I agree. It's catchy. And it's a good, fun, kind of more like simpler lyrically. I think it's just more straight ahead. And I think there's absolutely a place for that. I mean, not every song can be the most gorgeous poetic word painting on a record. You do need sometimes just that, you're going to go out on a Saturday night and crack a beer and just get on with it, you know. And I think that this is a great song. Never a skip for me. It's a very solid 8.5. But one thing I want to quickly say is, interestingly, when I listen to this song, it reminds me a little bit of a song that was released in Australia only a couple of years later by a band called Goanna, which was called Solid Rock as well. Now, they're a little bit different in their tempos and stuff, but actually there's something when I listen to this Dire Straits one, I can still hear something in it that I think, again, I mean, I'm not saying that Shane Howard completely ripped it off, but I think that maybe, given that this was a big album,
really ripped it off, yes.
But, you know, given that this was a big album at the time, undoubtedly he would have heard it, and maybe just subconsciously the idea for the solid rock thing being, you know, Ayers Rock and all of that kind of came from that idea, which is, you know, just interesting. But yeah, 8.5 for me.
You guys are awesome. Robert Ramford's got an interesting comment. Solid Rock is a stadium song, and that's one of my notes here. One of the points. The live version of this song is so much better than the studio version. The Alchemy Live video or DVD, check it out. You know, it's pretty good. And I have to do a bit of a shout out to Mark Knopfler too, because, you know, obviously he was inspired by tennis players John McEnroe, you know, wearing the sweats, the sweat wristbands, and
the
headband,
you know,
the headband. You know, didn't really put a lot of effort into, you know, what a lot of bands in the 80s were doing when they were going live. You know, it was. I think what you said, Simon Hoss, too. You said something about just, you know, getting out there, doing it kind of thing. So that was the mentality that this band had, and crossed over really, really well. You know, that northern Newcastle attitude, Simon, you know, that these guys had of just getting out there. And look, and I love that. You know, no disrespect to a band that wants to dress up like, you know, Clapton in the mid-'80s wearing his Versace suits. That's fine. But, you know, the sweatband was pretty cool. I like it. And because of the sweatband and the sweat wristbands, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yes, it's stop. What's that? No way. So I mean, I think that's fair. I think, you know, that what am I doing now? Sorry, I'm messing about. I shouldn't be. That's right. There we are. There you are. Look, there's my cake making skills. Look at that. That's solid rock. Solid rock cake.
Yeah.
Look at that, Victoria Sponge. Come on. Made for my brother and his wife's birthday. I took it last night with me.
Well done.
I'm such a nitwit.
Leg warmers. Oh my gosh,
warmers.
Helene, you're right.
Who said
leg warmers? Oh my lord.
Leg warmers.
Oh, I remember those too.
Takes you back, doesn't it? Not necessarily a good way. Pink leg warmers. Is that good?
Oh,
that's not. So anyway, back to the the last track on Simon is Les Boys, a very strange song. I think. I think this reminds you of sort of Cabaret, you know, the Liza Minnelli type thing, and its kind of tone and feel. Apparently, it's a sort of true story where they were trying to find food after a show in Germany, and they turned up at a disco bar, and so this is a you know, this is sort of an observational song really about you know, something that happened, sort of painting a picture of something. But it's quite a strange song in many ways, isn't it? I mean, lyrically it's quite there, and thank you, Teresa. But you know, it's got that kind of oompa rhythm to it, you know, that clearly evoking the German beer keller of sorts or something. It's got backing vocals. Again, the piano, I think, you know, does a really good job of giving it a different setting. So hats off to Roy. That's a song, isn't it? Hats off to Roy. you know, yes, it mentions Jean Genet and various other things. So, for me, probably 6.5 out of 10. I think it's kind of out of place on this record. I think it'd be out of place on a lot of records, to be honest. As a song, it's kind of okay. I don't know. Sometimes I might skip it. Sometimes if I'm not in the mood, I think it's a kind of something you've got to be a bit in the mood for. Nothing against it, but no, it feels a bit out of place against all the other songs. Bit of a strange coda to the album. Sorry, what do you think?
Yeah, look, I'd agree with that. And John in the comments was just saying that he kind of feels like it's out of place, sequenced as the very, very last song. He would have actually put it as second last and finished with Solid Rock. I 100% agree with that. I feel that same thing, which was a comment I was going to make. I don't have any problem with sometimes a song that can be a bit of a silly song or a throwaway song. I mean, really, in some ways, even in terms of its feel and stuff, it's very similar to the Beatles' Maxwell's Silver Hammer. And and even in that sort of lyrical fun and that sort of German beer drinking thing, you know. So I think that there's absolutely, if you're a songwriter and that's coming to you because, like you were saying, Simon, they actually were in Germany and went out to a discotheque and all of that, put that on the record by all means if you feel like it gives a sense of fun and playfulness to the band. But I just think to put it at the very end of the record like that is I'm a big believer in that the last song on an album should be a song that makes you want to go back to the beginning of the album and start the whole thing again. And this song just never did that to me, you know?
No.
So I agree with John on that one. Yeah, look, I hate to say it, but because the rest of this album I like so much. I think it's a strange way to finish what is has some amazing, well-written hits. For me, it's probably always a skip, and I got to give it a 6.
I'm going to give it probably one of my lowest ranks ever on this show, and I'm glad that we're all on the same page. And I think John, again, here makes a really, really good argument, guys. I don't want to repeat everything that my co-hosts have said because I totally agree with what they say, other than I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. And it's a skip. And I'm going to back up my co-hosts and everyone else here saying, you know, it's a weird song to end a cracker third album. So I think John's right. Had and this is one of the reasons why we value his contribution amongst other things that he does for us and the humor that he provides. Had they ended this song with Solid as a Rock, it would have been, guys, a near perfect album.
Yeah, well, agreed.
Do you think, here we are, here's my question. So do you think you could, if it would be a better album if you replaced Les Boys with Twisting by the Pool?
No. Oh, you reckon? Oh,
I think potentially, yeah. Like if you had Twisting by the Pool as a fun second last song and then finished with Solid Rock, I think that would have been a stronger ending, actually. But look, it's hard to say in retrospect, of course, and we don't know what the conversations between him and Jimmy Iovine were at the time. They might have had a very good reason for doing this, and I'm sure they did. But yeah, I mean, look, it's possible that Twisting by the Pool would have made it a stronger finish. Because if obviously with Les Boys being a fun kind of song, Twisting by the Pool is kind of a fun sort of song too. So it's frivolous in the same way. So maybe it could have taken its place, you know?
Very fun song. And it was number 1 here in this country for 6 weeks. It was just phenomenal. Yeah, right. Oh, it was just... Yeah. It just went on and on and on. Strange song. Strange song.
And if I think about Twisted by the Pool after Solid Rock, I think they kind of fit together. I think you'd have a really kind of upbeat, whizzy ending to the album. Yeah. I'm not suggesting you don't have Les Boys on it because I think it's, it has a contrast thing that would go really well against some of the other tracks, but I would put it further up in the thing, and I would have finished with Twisting by the Pool, I think, as a kind of, as a kind of that rock and roll thing that fits with Solid Rock, really, in a way.
Yeah.
Great.
The Les Boys.
Great album, though. Great album. I've loved listening to this album over the last 3 or 4 days, guys. It's a fantastic album. And like everybody else in the chat here, you know, they're talking about fashion, they're talking about fluoro. We're going back and, you know, reminiscing about things that we were doing in the 80s. That's one of the great things about doing this show, is that, especially if you're old like me and you remember these albums at that time, it's great. You know, everyone's reminiscing and talking about it. So, I love the album. And I'm going to say one thing though before I hand it over to you guys. And we mentioned it yesterday when the Rock Professor and I went on. Stratocasters have never been out of fashion. They've never been out of fashion. But Mark Knopfler and that red Stratocaster, he made sure in that late 70s, early 80s, mid 80s period that the Stratocaster did not go out of fashion. He kept the Stratocaster up there.
Yeah, I agree with that. He really, really did, didn't he? You know, and, you know, obviously with the way he played with such command and such sensitivity and all the things we've already talked about, plus his tone was so gorgeous. Like I said, definitely one of my favorite Strat tones of any guitarist. Yeah, he kept the Strat right in people's forefront, you know.
So do I, Robert. I miss the 80s too, brother. Gosh, we had fun.
We all do. It was a fun time, and you know.
Gosh, we had fun. But guess what? We all went up. We all woke up and went to work.
Sorry, what was that?
We all woke up the next day and went to work.
Yes.
Yes, in my case, went to university.
You know, you were talking just now about the 70s, Simon. I mean, no doubt I was a bit young for that, but I can only imagine the 70s would have been a pretty damn fun time as well, you know.
Well, yes, I think that in many ways it is right. I mean, the 80s were much more technicolor than, I mean, the early 70s was quite a sort of black and white, you know, kind of.
Yeah.
You know, the UK was still kind of, you know, the 70s were quite a sort of, you know, there's a lot of depression in the UK, you know, 3-day weeks, rubbish pile up on the streets and those kind of things, and you know, a lot of unrest in many ways, but in contrast to the 80s. But you know,
but you can even see that
musically. I think, you know, my heart is more with the 70s than the 80s.
I think you can even see that reflected in early 70s, a lot of British records in the artwork, and see, there was a lot of gray and black, wasn't it? You know, if you think about it. So in all the rock, especially the rock stuff, you know.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But
just having a look. I found a website that's got Mark Knopfler's, his first Strat was his 61 Fender Strat that he stripped the paint off and repainted it red, so it looked like Hank Marvin's red Strat. Yes.
Yeah, right. Fantastic.
Good work. It's
Helene reckons she was 5 in the 80s, so no argument. We're not going to push. Helene. We're not going to push any agenda.
Yeah. And actually, John just said a good thing in the chat too, which I agree with. It's actually, in terms of play minutes, it's a pretty short record. They could have easily had Twisting by the Pool in it and kept Les Boys as well, and just not finished the album with it, you know. And I think that makes sense. You know, you could easily sequence it that way, and it would still not even be a very long record. Twisting by the Pool's only 4 minutes something, I think.
3 minutes. Yeah. So,
yeah. I look, I agree, and I think that's one of the great things that we do about this on the show is, you know, we hypothesize about where songs should and shouldn't be, and whether or not they should be included on albums. What a great third album!
Really good.
So after this was Communique, is that right? And then it was Brothers in Arms. Is that correct?
No, I thought Love Over Gold.
Love Over Gold, and then Brothers in Arms, which went on to be a phenomenal album. So I look forward to us ranking that album later on in the year, guys. That'll be fantastic, won't it?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, absolutely. But great choice. Took me back to that, you know, and you know, got it out and played it again. Haven't played it for a while. So great record, as I said. I've had
Yeah.
it since it came out.
I mean, for me, still, those first two songs are such crackers that if they had have had no other songs on the rest of the vinyl, I still would have thought that was a good album, because Tunnel of Love, especially, and Romeo and Juliet, you know, beyond excellent. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Charmaine. Thank you for the nice, kind words about the fun show. That's why we do it. If we're not having fun, Charmaine, we won't be doing this show, and this channel wouldn't exist, because it's about fun. And the fact that you guys are jumping on with us, please remember, if you haven't subscribed, most of you guys have, because you're here on a regular basis. At one stage, we had 22 people watching us here on the Sunday show. We really, really appreciate that. Make sure you hit the notification button, because we're going to have a powwow over the next couple of days and decide what we're going to talk about on the 5150 show. And I think is it my pick, or is it your pick for the Sunday show's album? Simon.
Well, I did Pile Driver two weeks ago.
And Hoss picked for Brad, so it's my pick. Ooh la la.
I was going to say, I think we should get Brad to pick, because he wasn't here. And
That's right.
When you're not here, you get the action on you when you're not here.
Ooh la la.
That's fun. Yeah. It's
Hoss,
cool.
Thank you for filling in. You've done a wonderful job.
You're welcome, gentlemen. Very, very welcome. Happy to keep Brad's seat warm. Happy birthday, Brad, of course. And yeah, it's been a blast as always talking to you guys, and so thank you for having me.
Yeah,
appreciate it. But we'll look forward to doing the 5150 show. We'll get a topic going. We'll get a topic. We'll get something, because there's always something interesting. We can find out about what you're going to be doing with the Corner Bar gig as well. Look forward to getting some information on that. If you guys want to be involved in, if you've got a project going and you want us to share your social media accounts, please get in touch with me, Hoss, the Rock Professor, or Brad, and we'll do anything we can to help you guys do whatever you want on your social medias too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Okay, so, Hoss, do you want to do the final shout out, brother?
Absolutely. Why not? So thank you, everyone, for joining in on the chat live. It's always so much fun for us. So thank you to Johnny Heartbreaker, Johnny Bean, rated in at some point. Hey, Johnny, Derek Clacton, Wayno, Crappy Luxury, Arvin Gaunt, Helene, Helen Winter, Quentin James, Stav, how you doing, Stav? Robert Ranford, Gretch Zeppelin, Tim Thomas, Charmaine, Ellen, Teresa, and of course the illustrious John ZD351. So yeah, thank you everybody so much for joining in live. It makes it heaps of fun.
Yeah,
awesome. Happy birthday, Brad. Happy birthday, brother. We love you.
Yes.
Are we out of here?
Yeah, well, let's get out.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
See you next week.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Brad.
Where is it? Make sure we play the right video.
Where's the end button? Which side of the picture we're going to be?
All right. Bye.
Bye.